It's right here in Miramar. We actually have with us Mayor Wayne M. Messam, a frequent guest to the show. So welcome back, Mayor Messam.
Thank you.
And Romeo Lavarias, the emergency manager for the city with our fire department. They are both here to give us updates on what is happening with truly what has become our new normal, dealing with the coronavirus and how this is going to affect the city of Miramar. So again, welcome to the show, Mayor. And I know that you actually declared a state of emergency last weekend. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, on this past Saturday, March 14th, I declared a state of emergency along with the city manager, which by our city code we have the exclusive authority to do so. And we take these extreme measures typically, and what most residents are used to is when we are preparing for a wind event like a hurricane. But this is obviously a unique scenario in terms of dealing with the coronavirus and COVID-19 that we felt that based off of what has been taking place not only nationally in the state but right in our own community, that we should make the provisions to declare a state of emergency. Now, the state of emergency allows us to do several things.
Okay.
First, it puts the public on notice that there is an emergency event taking place. It also allows the city to align our assets and resources so that we can keep the community safe. And third, it allows us to be in a position to be reimbursed for many of the services that we have to put in place to provide to the public.
Okay.
Because when you have the state of Florida that's also declared a state of emergency and our federal government has done that as well, it allows us to align our resources, our strategies, and our protocols with the resources that have been given out to the public to be able to access them.
Okay, and I know that as of yesterday, we had 173 cases in Florida, 43 cases in Broward County. We had the most in the state. Next closest is Miami-Dade with 32 cases. And of course, that's because we are the most populous counties in the state. I know, Romeo, that you guys, went right after this emergency declaration, you guys went into overdrive with what we needed to do as a city. What has been what you guys have been doing as the emergency manager and with the fire department? Because I know you guys are you're gonna get those calls.
That's true. What we've done is that we've implemented a prevention and awareness strategy. We, as everyone knows, prevention through good hygiene. We're always promoting that,
Okay.
as well as awareness, reaching out to all the community. When we talk about the all community, the businesses, the faith-based organizations, our elderly population, getting the word out to them on what they should do in order to avoid contamination from the COVID-19.
Okay, and with people who are suspecting that they may have it, because now if you have a cold or just a small cough, people automatically assume that you have some disease now.
Yeah.
What do you say to the people who are calling in to 911 for that?
Yeah. What we do is that we've already implemented a policy so that when we receive those calls, we're given the dispatchers now ask a series of questions so that it gives them some intel if we're possibly dealing with a COVID-19 situation. But overall, we have seen a little spike in the volume of calls, but a lot of people have taken it upon themselves to take themselves in, quarantine themselves. There's been a lot of good information out there. Some have gone to their doctors, some have been diagnosed. So a lot of this has already been taking place from the local level.
Okay. And Mayor, I know that a lot of people also want to know what is going to happen if this happens in our city, as far as with the employees, or the residents. Will they still be able to get services from the city?
This situation is a very serious matter. When you contemplate that Broward County has the most confirmed positive cases of coronavirus in the entire state, and with Miramar being the 4th largest city in Broward, that is one of the reasons why I have moved forward in declaring this emergency, because we cannot take anything for granted.
Absolutely.
It's so important for the community to recognize what the threats are. Because the federal government not being in an ideal scenario to be able to have testing kits readily available for everyone, and for our healthcare institutions like Memorial Health Systems, as well as our state health departments, to have the infrastructure in place to have these testings available. that is why it's such a great concern, because there are many people that may be carriers or positive of coronavirus and don't even know it. They may be presenting some symptoms, but because they're not fully aware of what all the symptoms are and our inability to test everyone so that we can definitively know who's positive and who's not, is why there's such a great threat. So that is why the city, along with our emergency management personnel, as well as following the guidances from the CDC and our state of Florida Health Department, are educating the public in terms of personal hygiene to take place, identifying what residents are most at risk. So for example, picture this person. Let's say if you're 65 and you have flu-like symptoms, a fever, coughing, you've traveled to a location or a country that is known to have a high number of positive cases, or maybe a family member that may have traveled. You know, these are low-hanging fruit. These are the people that are most at risk, and these are the individuals that have been placed on the top of the priority to be tested. The governor is working with, I know right now in Broward County, with Memorial Health Systems to put in place some drive-through testing stops in areas. We know that these, on the phone call with the governor yesterday, he informed us that these will be priority for our elderly patients, as well as for the healthcare professional, because these are the healthcare professionals, the front line. We have to have as many healthy healthcare professionals available to be able to treat the public. And then two, our elderly residents and citizens are most at risk in terms of those who show the most or the highest mortality rates after being contracted with this disease.
So is that why the city went ahead and postponed a lot of the events that they usually have during this time, as well as the parks? And I know there's none of those events going on, but the parks are still open. There are some things that are still open.
Yes, and it's consistent with what healthcare professionals put in place when you're dealing with a pandemic. You want to eliminate any possibility of exacerbating or facilitating community spread. That means that someone is infected, and because of their day-to-day interactions with people, and obviously if you're having multiple or large events like all of our city events, that is why we canceled. The city did not want to be in a position to have community events bringing a large number of people into one setting and someone being positive, and then there's a ripe environment to spread the virus.
Okay. And so I would love to also talk to you, Romeo, about some of the rumors that are going around. There is no countywide lockdown, right?
That's
now.
correct, yes.
And all grocery stores are still open.
Yes, they are. Now, everyone knows that Publix, for instance, they're closing at 8 in order to give their crews enough time to restock and to clean. So that there was a rumor about their supply chain being interrupted. Their supply chain won't be interrupted at all. So that's always been, they've always been on top of that.
Okay, and then we also just got, I believe it was yesterday, that the governor put out that bars will not be open, or they're closing the bars early, which is, I don't know if that's good news or not, but bars and nightclubs.
Well, that was this press conference just today, just a couple of hours ago. The governor has instituted an order to close all bars and nightclubs beginning at 5 p.m. Today. And that is for obvious reasons. The city of Miramar, we are paying very close attention to orders that are coming from Tallahassee. In fact, as a municipality, we have the option to go even stricter than what may be recommendations that may come from the state of Florida to ensure that Miramar is in the best position to keep our residents safe. But restaurants are allowed to be open. They can deliver food. You can do takeout. But in terms of in-dining and large restaurants, that will not be allowed. And we're just asking people to make the best judgment. Now, in terms of some of our small business owners that that own restaurants and they're very concerned. I've received phone calls as well as emails, and it's a very trying situation because they have seen their patron numbers drop down. They're not having the customers to come in like they used to. So we're just asking everyone to use due diligence. We are looking at resources to see how the city of Miramar can perhaps provide some assistance. Those decisions have not been finalized yet, but I did hear as well that the governor at the state of Florida is looking at putting out an initial $50 million fund out for small businesses that would make available $50,000 as a bridge loan. It'll be a zero interest rate loan that would be paid back just to keep cash flows for cash flow purposes. We, as soon as those details are made available to the city of Miramar, we'll make sure to, in our economic development department, to push that information out so that our businesses who may qualify for that assistance can have access to it.
Okay, sounds good. And Romeo, I want to also talk about the role that you guys are going to have as far as emergency managers and dealing with the public and even the city, because people are worried about, will we have people here? Has the decision been made, and I guess the mayor may know this, both of you together, whether to send our employees home or to just shut down the city in general? Well,
obviously, as a municipality, the city of Miramar, we are the first line of defense, the first line of providing civic services. So our city manager has a plan in place that is identifying what essential services that need to be operational. These things are already known from our experience in dealing with state of emergencies. In terms of our city staff, we're very concerned about our city staff. We have assets in place to allow those employees that can work from home to work from home, as well as putting into place workforce or workplace protocols in terms of keeping our city staff that will be in any of our municipal facilities the proper distances. We have disinfectant resources to keep areas clean, keeping the social distancing, practice in place.
Explain that, Romeo, please, because we made fun when we came in here because everybody literally said hi to each other like this. The social distancing.
Right, per the CDC, they recommend naturally that there be a distance between everyone.
Look at it has evidence here. Yeah.
Just an abundance of caution, as always. To prevent contamination, 6 feet or more, 6 to 10 feet would be a nice buffer between people, just in case. So to avoid any droplets or anything like that through sneezing, coughing, or anything like that. So yeah, the social distancing, it's us here as well as the mayor had just mentioned. Why a lot of large restaurants and organizations, why they're looking at closing them down to foster that social distancing.
Okay. And so what you would encourage people to do, the first thing is, if they are feeling any type of symptoms or think that they are feeling them, what do you suggest that they do? For
the first thing, if they're thinking that they're feeling under the weather, the first thing they should do naturally is to check themselves and see if this is not right. Then definitely go to the hospital, check yourself out. But in 9 times out of 10, depending on your age and your condition, it's usually just the flu, and then self-quarantine. Do what you normally do. You would stay at home, you would rest, take a lot of liquids, sleep, get over the flu. Now, if you feel that you're exhibiting some of the COVID ID symptoms, there's a hotline that you can call through Broward County that can get that that you can give these conditions to, and then they can guide you even further, and they may even direct you to go to your local hospital or to your doctor.
Yeah, I can't stress enough for our residents to follow the recommendations of the CDC as well as the Florida Department of Health. And the Florida Department of Health has a hotline number, and that number is 866-779-6121. That's 866-779-6121. And I did want to mention, however, that the city, we have a very active senior community. We have our Sunset Lakes Community Center and our Multi-Service Center, and we have nearly 300 seniors that we have, very active senior. We take them on field trips, we shop here, they're here every day, and we've had to suspend those services. However, in terms of them coming to our city facility, because each location has over 100. So we had to avoid bringing all those at-risk residents into one location. But our social services department is providing meals for those seniors that are on the meal program. We will go shopping for them so they can get grocery shopping, because that can be a very daunting task, especially right now with there being a short supply at many of our our supermarkets and places where we buy our goods and our supplies. So we're trying to maintain those services so that the residents, our seniors, our most vulnerable, can have a meal and can be able to be taken care of at their home. Our adult daycare center, that still remains open. We are still providing services for our residents that are there. That is a health care facility. The residents that are there at that center cannot be left home alone. So we have our healthcare professionals employed by the city at that location that are giving them the utmost care.
Okay. Well, and if you would like more information about what the city of Miramar is doing for the COVID-19 virus, also known as coronavirus, you can always go to our website at miramarfl.gov. That's MIRAMARFL.gov. You can also call 954-602-HELP. That's 602-HELP. That is our information line that is manned 24 hours. And people will be answering that and helping you as well, keeping you abreast of what's happening with the city services, if the city will be closing or not. Of course, we will have the mayor back on, and also Romeo if that does happen. But right now, everything is status quo. Everybody is working, as you can tell. We are all at work. So thank you so much, Mayor Messam. We appreciate it. And thank you, Romeo Lavarias, the emergency manager for our fire department for the city of Miramar and for the city. So please, if you have any more questions or if you do want more information, miramarfl.gov. And until next time, I'm Tamara G with Good Morning Miramar. We'll see you later.